Hello, Fredak here. Fred ACC, all one word. Alrighty, it is Thursday, July the 10th. And I just posted something on here called XRP Game Change. Now, for those of you who are tuning in to this posting about real estate, there are some days where I'll have numerous postings. There'll be other days where I go 3, 4, 5 days without a posting. I'm not on here to make money from YouTube. I'm making money from other things. My forte is trying to look at things from a mathematical perspective to try to share them with each of you. Now, first up, I'd like to thank you all for being here. And I'm going to go into the real estate tipping point. Real estate collapse that we might be looking at, and maybe not. First, a little bit about Fredak. If you're new, subscribe, check out some of my past postings. You might learn a little nugget of knowledge. You might not. But listen, garbage in, garbage out. You stop in, you subscribe, you listen to what Fredak blabbles. If something makes any sense to you, SENSE, possibly even CENTS, then you start to grasp onto it. And if not, garbage in, garbage out. Nothing gained, nothing lost. This is not financial advice, just the ideas that are swirling around in Fredak's head. I had some postings, I think it was last October, about generational wealth. Hopefully some of you jumped on board and got involved with the XRP cryptocurrency. To me, that mathematically looked like the one that made a lot of sense. Both SENSE and CENTS. 3-4 weeks later, the thing surged over $3. Now we're hovering around $2.40. A lot going on with this thing. You don't want to miss out. Check out Fredak. All one word, FREDACC. Subscribe. Don't miss out on things. All the stuff is there in the past. But you don't want to miss out on the Fredak postings. I don't know, maybe you can afford to miss out on it. That's okay too. Doesn't matter to me either way. I'm not trying to be rude to anybody, but I haven't made a penny from the Yahoo YouTube thing. I'm not really on here for that reason. I enjoy the comments from the people that are on here, very much so. If you have any comments, please leave them. My haircut, my t-shirt, this or that, blah, 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 blah. Eyes being closed, eyes being open, whatever it might be. Let's get down to the important stuff. So as I start many of my postings, I want to thank you all for being here today. I hope you subscribe, hit the likes button, smash the likes button, hit the don't likes button, kick the don't likes button, leave the negative comments, whatever you want to do. It's all good with me. All good with me. At some point, I'm going to evolve into the technological world of the 21st century. I'm going to probably start some kind of a streaming on here. And I would expect that this channel will explode. Why? Because people are interested in money, making money, and expanding their horizons. That's what it's all about in life. Alrighty, let's get to the important thing of today. First up, I'd like to thank you all for being here, which I think that I did. And I always start out by warning everybody out there who's tuning in to watch out for the scammers. Oh, the scammers are swarming. They're swarming. Part of that is probably because they're always swarming, but as global economics seem to be souring to the downturn, and I've explained this in many of my other past postings, that there's boom and bust, there's waves, boom and bust. So all through history, you go back to the tulip mania of the 1600s, and one after another, there's been so many different booms and busts. So in the real estate world, I go with if, when. There's no guarantee of anything. And I try to bring things your way. For those of you who are new to subscribing or checking out Fredak, you don't need to come on here and listen to somebody tell you what you want to hear. I tell you the stuff that maybe you don't want to hear. I try not to be clouded in hopium, but there's probably a twinge of that, and I try to be realistic of that. But I also try to read the tea leaves from somewhat of a logical, mathematical perspective. which is why you definitely want to check out the posting that I just posted on XRP Game Change. And check out some of my past postings. You can go back and look at the prediction 10, 12 days before the Stupid Bowl, the Super Bowl. Mathematically, I explained in decent detail why mathematically the right play was to go with the Philadelphia Eagles. It turned out to be correct, but hey, listen, I'm not right on everything. I don't have a crystal ball. Alrighty, let's go into real estate. The real estate collapse that could be coming. Why do I think that could be the case? I'm going to explain that to you. Now, I've been talking about the economic collapse that I foresaw a good year and a half, 2 years ago coming. We're probably in the third, fourth inning, fifth inning. We're starting to get into the danger mode, DEFCON 4, DEFCON 5. There's something that, in my mind, I call the tipping point in the real estate world. And I'm going to explain that to you. To me, the tipping point is that 5, 6, 8 months ago, a year ago, there was plenty of people that was swarming in that were a combination of speculators and serious homeowners. But all the pricing had elevated in the real estate world. Everybody was chasing after their shadow. Fine, nothing wrong with that. Capitalism at its best. It's a beautiful thing when it works. When it goes the other way, it could hurt a little. So let's just say you bought a house for $600,000. You put down $150,000, $200,000 of your own money. You bought it as a homeowner or you bought it as a speculator. You're going to flip it and make some quick money. And plenty of people were doing that 4 or 5 years ago. And it was working great. But most of us are Fred Acts, 9-to-5ers, and we're not in the speculating world. We're not buying numerous pieces of property. Alrighty, let's fast forward to now. The waves of boom and bust have started to wane downward. There's anything, it's like supply and demand. Anything that surges too much in price, there's always the run up, and then there's the run down. We might be heading into the rundown, and we might not. It's understandable. Try to keep an open mind. Here's where we get back to the tipping point and when this can start to get really ugly. What I've started to notice around the United States is that people that purchased properties, whether they're flippers, speculators, or they're actually homeowners, there are some who are homeowners that different circumstances come up and they need to sell the home that they have and they have to move somewhere or they need to sell their downside, whatever it might be. Awesome. Or fine. So you purchase something for $600,000. I'm using just fake round numbers. You put down $150,000. You're a speculator or you're a homeowner, either or. But this was like a year ago, and now you need to sell the property. So naturally you're like, well, the market's been red hot. I'll put it on there for $689. I'll make $89,000. Sweet. Not much happens. So you start to lower the price down to $660, down to $649, down to $629. Fine, that's all well and good. The tipping point is the threshold where the individual purchased it at. Sure, if you're a big conglomerate, you got deep pockets, I guess you could start to take 20, 30 grand losses on the things that you purchased for the idea that I'm going to flip it and make some quick money. Fine, capitalism at its best. But the reality is that at $600,000, a penny below that is a penny out of your pocket, the owner of the property. And what I've been seeing out there is that people are lowering their prices down, but they would just like to get out. Some people are biting the bullet and starting to lose money on the things that they purchased, which is a bummer. It burns, it hurts, it sucks. You got to regroup. But then the tipping point at $600,000 on the sale, the potential sale price, and now you end up you're at $599. No one usually generally walks in and just says, I'll give you the price you're asking. Naturally, who would do that? They're going to offer something lower. So if you end up at a final price of $591, you took a $9,000 loss. And I'm starting to see this out there on a lot of the listings that are slowly drifting down after the time frame. Because let's be real. You could tell me, and I've spoken about this on some of my other postings, the law of economics is this. You could say to me, hey, Fredak, I've been trying to sell a jet ski, or a pool table, or a house, whatever the item is. My question would be, how long have you been trying to sell it for? They say more than 25, 30, 40 days. More than likely, it's overpriced. If you've got a jet ski and it functions properly, it's worth about $10,000, $11,000, and you're trying to sell it for $15,000, $16,000. Time goes by, and it's been 49 days you're trying to sell it, it's probably overpriced. If you lowered the price to $299, you'd probably sell it before the sun sets. Because people would realize this is a steal. It's a functioning jet ski. It's probably worth about 10 grand, 11 grand, and this guy's got it for sale for $299. Gone. So that's what it usually comes down to, is how long has it been for sale? So when you start to look at how long things are sitting on the market, many of them have been 30, 40, 60 days, 90 days, and even longer. And also there's the potential for buyers to start to begin realizing that prices are coming down. Why do I want to jump on something today that in 3 weeks from now, a month from now, might be $5,000 cheaper? So the whole buying and selling game has shifted over to the buyers. That's what it seems like. And they're aware of it. So they're going to send in lowball offers, or they're going to sit back and twiddle their thumbs and not get involved. That's understandable. Why do you want to buy something for $591,000? That 6 months later, you might have been able to get it for $529,000. It's understandable. Now let's go back to the tipping point. On the tipping point is probably about the purchase price that the person got it at. Now, sure, if they own something for 14, 17, 18 years and they bought it at a very low price, they're far away from the tipping point. It's going to be profitable to them at almost whatever price they're trying to sell it at. And of course, there's always the greed factor, and there's nothing wrong with the greed factor. That's what makes the world go around. That's what capitalism is all about. Why would I not put something out there for sale originally at a much higher price? Now, if I'm a buyer of real estate, when I go to look at properties, if I go to look at some different houses, I'm going to be my interests are piqued by the house that I walk in and see no furniture, no clothing, they're gone. To me, that's a seller that's going to be much more accessible to negotiating something on a lower price. Whereas the house that the person's living in, they don't give a rat's buns if they sell it or not. They're not really moving anywhere. They're not in a hurry to get out of there. They might not be so adjustable to the downside. I'm trying to choose my words somewhat deliberately. So once again, let's go back to the tipping point. The tipping point is going to be the watermark that somebody purchased something. If it's less than 2.5, 3 years ago, most people want to get out what they're in for. And if they can make a nice chunk of profit, great. And some are being overly crowded by, their mind is being polluted by the hopiums of what was yesteryear. Let's be real. If you have a bottle of water and it's ice cold, it's probably worth, I don't know, 12-ounce bottle of water, maybe 30, 40 cents, 50 cents. But if you're in a plane crash out in Death Valley, no sight of help coming soon, you'd probably trade your Rolex watch for it. Like, I need that water. The only way I'm going to stay alive. So everything is commensurate with the environment of what's going on around you. Got to keep that in mind. And then the sad part is that the tipping point, if we start to go below the tipping point, which is the high water mark of where people purchase things at, and they're starting to take losses on them, yes, if it's a huge investment trust group that was profiting all along very well, the last 5-6 years on the upsurge with the low interest rates, free money out there. Beautiful thing. Everybody was happy. And for those of you who want to subscribe and learn about the real estate conundrum, go back and look at some of the Fred Act postings. I have made some different postings about the financial world, about the chop, the commission that people used to yank. And I explained it all in detail. It's all there. In my opinion, again, many times these are my opinions, I believe the NASDAQ surge of the late 90s was all based on that commission. The RIP is what it was called. I thought it was one of the more interesting posts you're ever going to see on YouTube. If anyone out there comes across any kind of posts like that, whether it's the finance world, the real estate world, or fast food, or anything else out there, the government, please send me a what is it, a likes or whatever, a comment or whatever, because I want to check it out. I don't want to miss that. So back to the tipping point. Trying to not drag this out too much. And I know others on here have sensational headlines and they're only looking for the eyeballs to come in because this is how they're making their livelihood. I'm not making any livelihood from this. But you don't want to miss my postings because they might actually pan out well for you financially. With the tipping point, once things start to go below the tipping point, let's think about it. What starts to happen? You start to get foreclosures and you start to get a certain amount of resentment from buyers. People just step away and they're like, I'm not going to catch a falling knife. Why would I buy this for $529,000? When in 6 months from now, I might be able to grab it at an auction for $405,000. That's when it starts to get ugly out there. And I don't really know if the government's in much of a position to just print money out of thin air and save the day. Here I come to save the day. What was that, Mickey Mouse, Mighty Mouse or something? Just don't see it happen. I think the everyday Fred Acts of the world, the Joe Schmoes 9-to-5ers are kind of fed up with it all. And let's be real about all this too. All the big swelled billionaires, where did it all come from? Probably at the expense of the everyday people here in the US and globally. Think about that, crunch that around a little bit. So my concern on the real estate collapse is that if things keep going in the direction that they're going in, we could be looking at an epic depression. Is it going to happen? Probably not. Is it possible? Absolutely, of course it's possible. So subscribe, start catching some of Fred Act stuff. We're going to try to start posting some of the different ideas on how you can insulate yourself if there is a tremendous downturn, how you can capitalize and come out of it 4, 5, 6 years from now down the road on the wealthy side. Nothing wrong with that. Alrighty, numerous postings, putting something out there for XRP Game Change. I think it's in motion. Want to thank you all for being here. Hope you subscribe. Hope you learned something from all this.